Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to today's highly anticipated webinar on media and information literacy. I'm thrilled to be your host for this enlightening session. My name is Brian, and I'm excited to guide you through our exploration of this crucial topic in today's digital age. Before we begin, I'd like to extend a warm welcome to our esteemed guest, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Ariel Cervantes Sebellino. Mr. Sebellino serves as the Executive Director, Trustee, and Head of Training Operations and Special Projects at the Philippine Press Institute. With his wealth of experience and expertise in journalism and media literacy, we are incredibly fortunate to have him share his insights with us today. So, media and informations are more important now than ever before in a world flooded with information from countless sources. The ability to critically evaluate and navigate media content is essential. Today, we'll delve into the key principles and strategies behind media and information literacy and explore how we can all become more discerning consumers and creators of media. So, everyone, please welcome Mr. Ariel Sebellino.
Hello, hello, hello. Hi, guys. Good afternoon. Thanks, Brian, for introducing me and Beer Times for having me. Finally, we actually postponed the first schedule, and
Yes.
yeah, and here we go, and here I go, finding time for this because I know this is really very important. And I'm just gonna say hi to all those I know in the meeting room and those familiar Filipino sounding names. I do not know some of you, but most of you are here, and I can see familiar faces, familiar names. Probably they're my Facebook friends, but I'm not going to talk about MIL because, well, I'm not an expert in MIL, but I've been in the industry with the industry since 1997. So my standpoint is my wealth of experience, and also I
Mm.
think with what we do, our initiatives, projects on MIL in the Philippine Press Institute. But I also would appreciate. I'm appreciating also the work of other organizations like the organizations where Professor Janet Tebaldo belongs, and all the other professors here, educators here, students here, who in one way or the other belong to any media organization or communication and media organizations in the Philippines. And also say hi to those who are very eager to listen to me from Malaysia, from Indonesia, etc. But I think we also have something in common. And the common denominator is we want to have an exchange or a discussion MIL. So I don't want to take long or prolong it, but I think it's more of an interaction. And if we can get some questions from the floor or from those in the meeting room, and also probably not only me answering questions, but also some will probably like share the insights and experiences in answering a question or commenting to a comment. So here we go. Yeah, I just came from a webinar with students. We talked about press freedom, and we talk about media information literacy. I think it's good. We're kind of weaving a discussion from where I started this afternoon to something that we all want to share or listen to or even like interact to. I'm pretty sure that all of you guys have an idea or several ideas about media and information literacy, whether you're teachers, whether you're students, whether you're content providers, etc., whether you are in the communication or media fields. What we all share probably as a starting point is that happy World Press Freedom Day. It's just as a day. Hopefully, it should be a daily experience, which I would tell my students, the students before this, that it's not just today that we should be celebrating, commemorating press freedom. If we're happy with it, then fine. But if you're not content with just saying happy celebration, a World Press Freedom commemoration, then we have to work hard for it and make sure that we're all happy every year or even every day as we talk about press freedom or media information literacy with the work that we do. Sorry, but can we just like silence silence the interference probably so that we can all hear each other if you can tone down, yeah, your audio or something. So thanks, guys. So yeah, it's good to know that we've just like several days past World Press Freedom Day, but we're still in the month of May. So it's good also to take note that World Press Freedom is something to do with not just press freedom, but I think access to information, Media and information literacy included. While the theme, UNESCO's theme is about environmental journalism, we can talk about the theme or press freedom. Uh, Sorry, can we just like can you please turn off your audio so there'll be no interference so I can talk through and through? Thank you. And we can hear each other. Yeah. And also, Brian and colleagues also talked about media and information literacy in the context of education and against the backdrop of misinformation, disinformation, which you all know is inundating social media platforms, conversations, etc. So it's good to continue conversations and dialogues on media information literacy as we speak about access to information, also providing uh, good venues and avenues to talk about MIL and press freedom in several discourses or venues or avenues of dialogues and conversations. So um a lot has been said about MIL in the corners of educational systems. It's been really holding conversations as well. And I think it's a continuing dialogue conversation as we want to progress MIL into a plane of common understanding. And also, if we talk about it in a context, in the context of our work, not just media, not just communication, not just journalism, but I think in everything that we do on a daily basis, I think we are able to connect in such a way that we want MIL to be a culture, to be a movement, not just part of a pedagogy, not just part of the curriculum, but I think on a daily basis, on a daily conversation, let's have it in place. And I think the more we talk about the need to talk about MML is better appreciated, let's say in the context of how do you want MIL to progress? How do you want MIL to be appreciated and used, not just in the corridors of the academic institutions, but I think on everyday life and make it a basis for conversations and make it a basis for teaching others informally. So whether it's a pedagogy or a framework or a principle, we are talking about MIL. The noble intention is that we want to build better communities and also nation building, not just improve education, not just improve conversation, but I think in the long run, as we end talking about MIL today and wake up the next morning, is to be able to appreciate MIL as we do our own business daily, and that whoever we are interacting with, especially for those in the education sector, in the media communication sector, have it a center, have it as a centerpiece in all communication aspects. Like if we talk about how we want to put across a message of, let's say, a topic in journalism and appreciate realities on the ground, then we talk about a news. And I sort of invent this term, MIlize it, M-I-Lize it, M-I-L and I-Z-E, MIlize it in such a way we better, well, not us, not in our own comfort zone, but students, teachers, and all the publics that we want to educate on MIL and not educate, but really appreciate MIL because it's a way to go now. The way to go now is that everything, the reality that we are seeing, hearing, and also being passed on us should be appreciated because those are realities and if you want to make sense of realities, then we can make use of MIL or utilize it to contextualize a lot of realities on the ground. But when we talk about MIL, which is, well, this one is about critical thinking. I think that's a key ingredient in being able to come across MIL in the context of understanding, but it's not so easy to preach or teach critical thinking. I don't want to preach. We don't want to preach. We don't want to teach, but really share insights on it. So critical thinking is not easily taught or caught, but I think it should start with a good comprehension of all things at home. So when I say home, you've got people around you that know or who should know MIL, but at the same time, make you understand that you that you are able to understand realities as you work around being a student, being a teacher, being an academic, and as you like enter a community that you don't belong, be able to appreciate it, because I think it's a different having a conversation with a community or a group of individuals or organizations that do not share your principles, your background, your perceptions of things, would be a challenge for any guy who wants, or any person who wants MIL to be the centerpiece of conversation. As I said, where we want everybody to have critical thinking, because that's a step towards MIL, to understanding MIL. We also want to have good comprehension, and it has to start with reading. It has to start with really not just educating ourselves, but really coming to terms with common sense. Yeah, it's all about common sense. Comprehension is about common sense, but as you progress to critical thinking, must have a solid comprehension of things. So one who teaches MIL or imparts MIL or imparts critical thinking must unlearn or relearn things. So I think that's uh, it's a humble admission that we are not we're not experts in MIL, but we are sharers of MIL, and that as we talk about educating somebody, as we talk about sharing insight to somebody, we want AML to be part of who we are. And I think as a person, as a person in the media and information, media and communication sector or journalism sector, I for sure want to have conversations that center on a better understanding of realities. And I think that's media and information literacy is all about. It's not just understanding. Please, if you want to take note of this, please do. MIL is not just about understanding media. It's not just understanding information, but really a literacy for all or on all things. So MIL does not have, will not have, should not have an exclusive realm or turf on media and information, but I think it must be able to cross over, not just cross over from the standpoint of media communication to the realm of, let's say, making it easily understandable, making things easily understandable, and at the end of the day, making use of media and information, access to information for one, is very important to be able to really um, help or contribute in all the discourses or discussions. Um, I think one of those things that should be impressed on the public is when there are so many distractions. So we all know that MIL should help or helps in making sense of like all of these things. We are being inundated by misinformation, deep fakes, and IA. Now comes AI, and all this actually make confuse us. And I think when we're confused, we lose sense of direction. We lose sense of better understanding. And what a way to put in sense than really making use of media information literacy to be able to at least take off the burden of confusion. And I think also at the end of the day, we're able to get the right message in terms of appreciating realities. Um, but I think it would be, for me, based on my experience on fighting disinformation, also addressing AI, not just me, not just by me, but I think from my company, the Philippine Press Institute, and also other media organizations who are at it in curbing and fighting disinformation, misinformation, deepfakes, and also making sense of AI, artificial intelligence in newsrooms, and also in research. Um, it would be best to think about distractions and turn things around so that a distraction becomes an opportunity for us. A distraction should serve as an opportunity for us to do better and also provide more initiatives and mechanisms to better understanding MIL. So for all of us who would want to, make a difference in this world, in our community, but I think also amongst our peers, would probably think of MIL as a better avenue, a better mechanism to, what would I say, imparting a tool for anybody who wants to share the advocacy of fighting disinformation. So I think you know what I mean. And when I say that, it should be out of, not out of bounds, but out of the comforts of academic institutions, out of the halls and corridors of formal education. But I think the challenge now is to be able to MLize or make use of MIL, not in the not in those formal educational systems and corridors and hallways, but I think as we, you know, as we conduct ourselves in public. So what I'm saying is that whether I am a media practitioner, when I work, but also more importantly, when I do have conversations or dialogues in my neighborhood, it's so easy to say that, but I think that's MIL, popularizing it, laymanizing it, so that it comes naturally. That's what I'm saying. So it's like, for example, if I want to talk to a neighbor about, let's say, a a a fake news, I wouldn't say like, let's talk about the fake news in the context of MIL. Not like that. Uh, it's not to offend them, but I think at the very least, when you start a conversation on MIL, you don't have to say it's about MIL. But I think you want to prove a point that when you want, in my example, if you want to talk about a a fake news or a disinformation falsehood, then start it with an experience and then inject the lessons of MIL, not by saying it's an MIL, but I think in the long run, we want to say that, we're talking about this because we want, both of us would want to understand that it's not true and that um, there are legitimate sources of information to be able to believe that a truthful disinformation should exist or can exist in the conversation. So something like that. So not not even saying that, we're starting an MIL conversation. So you know what I mean. I think uh to me, uh, well, we're talking about MIL, but it's not about all retards. It's not retards per se. So we move around the conversations of MIL in the context of our work, but I think more importantly, we're talking about it out of our own industry, out of our academic institutions, to somebody who we want to um to understand our, not our work, but I think make sense. I always like to stress that point of, like, if there's confusion, you want somebody to make sense of what he's confused about. So I think that's MIL. On a larger scale or in a simple scale, MIL to me has something to do with values, with a framework. I'm moving away from the framework, but it's really a principle. When I said that it should be a movement or a culture, it's not just part of the education, not just part of pedagogy, not just a pedagogy, but I think we want MIL to be a value for all. When I say value, I think it comes from a core. The core is to be able to to be truthful, to be able to appreciate truth, universal values and justice, truth, love, generosity, etc. So I think those are motherhood statements, though. But when I say we want to veer away from, I want to veer away from talking about it as a framework or rhetoric. Um, we want to have a practical guide. So that's it. Now I'm moving closer to what we're supposed to make sense out of MIL. A practical guide, a solution to problematic areas in education and media. So you guys who are in the education sector, media sector, communication sector, probably would be percolating in your mind. You're thinking about how do I use MIL to be able to get my message across, more important, how to be a better speaker, how to be a better educator at the moment when when you're actually needed. But when you spark a conversation, whether informally or formally, I think it's best to know that you understand MIL in the context of your work. I want to say in the context of your work, it's easy to appreciate it when you know very well your product, much like a product. So it's easy to sell a product if you know it best, if you know what you're talking about. So as we talk about MIL now, I think For example, if you ask me, I want to make use of MIL in my work, but when I'm out of work, meaning if I'm in my home, in my neighborhood, I want to make use of MIL as a intrinsic part of, you know, of having good conversations. And I think good conversations would entail um, a proper communication. And I think the value of communicating or communication to somebody or with somebody that does not share your work, that is confused and that's having a hard time understanding you, is to go down to the level, not go down to the level of not comprehending things, but I think go down to the level of how best a topic is understood. For example, again, if I want to share a news, because sorry for having news as an example, because that's where I come from. Because they always ask me, I mean, not always, but occasionally would ask me about, is this news true or false? So uh, injecting in the conversation a proper attitude, proper comprehension, and proper understanding of things in the context of the news that they want to ask about. I think that's how you laymanize MIL, because you want media and information to be shared or to be better understood, so that, well, in the long run, you want everybody to be literate, not in the noble, not the highfalutin literacy, but I think the in the little things that move closer to critical thinking, and I think that's comprehension. So we're able to at least share insights on how to comprehend things. For example, I gave you two examples already to be able to comprehend things. I think that's a better step or a step closer to making sure that you're able to get your message across, and at the same time, you want the person to understand what he is asking about. So, but to me, in the course of my work as a media practitioner and my work in the Philippine Press Institute and talking about MIL to parents and teachers, not just to, I think I want, uh, I, well, I like when an invitation has an audience with parents and students, not just media, because media, they exactly know what they're doing for those most part of our for the most part of their work, for a journalist work. But to me, based on my experience, MIL is both a science and a art. When I say it's a science, it's a step-by-step guide to do MIL, much like what teachers and educators do in the academy. But at the same time, it's also an art. I think use art to be able to get the message across, and if you want a creative way to do MIL, then do it in such a way that you have met, you're meeting your objectives or goals. So art and the science, when you combine that, I think that makes MIL very interesting. So I'm not saying that I do it all the time, but once I did it with a different audience, they're all one set was for students, for out of school youth, and then the other was with parents, and I was able to inject a creative way in, well, for them to appreciate MIL without losing very well the substance of MIL. So it becomes entertaining because it's a challenge. It's a huge, humongous challenge for us to really teach MIL. And I feel those who are in the education sector, the students, not the students, but the educators out there, all trust there to teach MIL and to make it part of the curriculum. But I think now educators, sans the pedagogy of it, are now able to inject MIL in all subjects so that they were able to have creative ways, a lot of ways to do MIL creatively. And I think the students better appreciate it. And in the long run, find MIL slowly or gradually embrace MIL as part of, of their daily lives or their daily activity, etc. And I think the noble cause, the intention is that um, probably before they sleep, when they finish their assignments at home, is to make sure, or is for them to realize that, oh, I am good at this. I want to be good at this because I I have appreciated much better MIL. So it also serves as inspiration while it is an aspiration for all of us to have MIL at the center of our, press freedom discourses or discussions on democracy, etc. But I think in the long run, we want to inspire. It serves as inspiration for us to do better. For us in the media communication education sector, who want to prove to everybody, want to prove all and sundry that it can work, that it can work in proper context. It can work in an environment where you all have the support of people who who are able to appreciate MIL. So um yeah, um MIL, how do you make sense of MIL so that we can talk about fact checking, we can talk about uh you know people appreciating or rallying behind or to our causes on fighting disinformation. How do we make them support us if you want to use MIL to curb or to battle, to confront, disinformation, misinformation? I think we rally behind certain causes because we have universal values of truth telling, justice, etc. So we want to make sure that MIL is the centerpiece of truth telling. MIL is in the context of building better communities of people who appreciate um, good news, want to appreciate good journalism, want to appreciate fact-checked materials or items so that they're guided by the principles of, sharing truthful information. And then also I think have MIL in relation to all these pockets of initiatives in every corners of your archipelago or your country or your in your halls. Make sure that for me, I'm speaking in terms of what we do in the PPI and also in relation to what we support as a good advocacy on fighting disinformation and teaching the public to fact check. We don't fact check, PPI doesn't fact check, but we support fact check initiatives. So I think that's very important for an academic institution using MIL as a part of of his or her pedagogy to be able to say that at the end of the day, we want to take part in all pockets of initiatives that has something to do preserving academic freedom, preserving press freedom, and dishing out truthful, vetted, and factual information at the very least. So to end my talk on this, because we want to have an interaction with you guys. MIL, media information literacy, of course, is not a solution to the woes of the world for sure. It's not the answer to every other basic or monumental or existential or essential problems or questions, of course, but it must be understood or better appreciated by the public of publics when they see us doing excellent job, when they see us doing good work as educators, content providers, content uh, uh, creators, or public servants. In any realm we belong, I think MIL should be also serves as a guide or a principle for us to make the public understand our work and that our work has something to do with what we want them to be as responsible, as informed citizenry. Thanks everyone for listening to me, and I'm looking forward to an interaction with you. Thanks 3 times. Thanks guys for listening to me in the meeting room.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ariel. It's really amazing what you shared with us with your expertise and your perspective on MIS, right? So maybe right now we are going to open the Q&A session with everybody. So if you guys want to ask question to Mr. Ariel, you can write it in chat or maybe you can uh, turn on your mic and I will
Yeah,
read it to Mr. Ariel.
sure.
Okay, maybe let's start with my questions. Okay.
Okay.
Um, hmm, because bringing the subject of MIS, I want to ask, like, how can media and information literacy empower individual to recognize and resist media manipulation and propaganda? Because, like, in
Wow.
my country, there's a
Yeah,
lot of like
yeah, yeah,
media
yeah.
manipulation and
For
propaganda.
sure. Yeah, we're not just talking about countering or confronting all these issues about propaganda, media manipulation, and more importantly, I think, while Brian, I always say this in my, whether it's in person or online talks, that we don't want to be stuck to the same echo chambers. Meaning, if we're all here understanding each other and we're on the same page, we want to snowball the discussion information to a lot of people. And I think
Mm,
that is the challenge for MIL. And that when you say MIL in the context of public education or public making sense of realities, then we want MIL to be able to empower them and make them better citizens, so that better citizens mean, or better citizenry means, well-informed citizenry. I like it when, where if a person decides for himself or herself based on an information, based on a well-researched or vetted information, meaning I decide or you decide because you are able to see the truth. So that when you see or read or listen to a newscast, and that that says a lot of things, that there's news about this and that, we want to wake up Sunday and say, oh, I am deciding because I know the truth. I want a conversation to to I want a good conversation because I was able to see, hear, and listen to a piece of news that will make me decide how to um how to conduct myself in public, so that when I am in public, I'm able to say, yeah, I am speaking, I am writing, not just, any other person can do that. Probably speaking, uh, in general terms, speaking because I know the truth, and I don't want to be shamed for being so being so full of disinformation, misinformation. So I think empowering somebody is empowering him or her to have a better quality of life.
mm. Thank you so much, Mr. Ariel. Maybe next question we have from Cindy. Hello, sir. Thank you for the explanation. I want to ask, looking ahead, what do you envision as the future of media and information
Ah,
literacy, and what steps can society take to further advance this important field?
yeah, thank you for that question. Very good question. MIL for sure is here to stay. Um, whether I said, whether it's part of the educational system, a curriculum or pedagogy, whether it is our advocacy in the media information and communication sector, I think MIL will progress into something that, um, okay, can I just say that at this point we're so stuck with the framework of MIL, we're so stuck with its principle as part of educating ourselves. But I want to see, Cindy, I want to see a future, whether it's near or long shot. I want to see a future where MIL is part of a culture or part of a societal experience or movement. So it becomes easily, um, uh, uh, it becomes part of who we are, how we are as citizens of the world. How do we do that? I think it takes a lot of continuing education and continuing conversations for sure. And I think we don't want to be stuck in the conversations that are here. We want to be grounded. We want to be on the ground so that the conversations from here or here in the middle move to a certain direction, move to a certain place where it is better understood by the masses. So not just us from our own standpoints or orientations, but outside of our own realm, as what I'm saying. So I'm sure the day will come, but I think it takes a lot of cajoling. It takes a lot of efforts to MILize a society.
Mm, thank you so much, Mr. Ariel. Any more
Welcome.
questions from our audience? One more questions, maybe.
One more, please ask or please
Please, please,
share.
please share your experience, maybe.
Uh, Probably Professor Janet here, Ma'am Janet. I'm calling out. I'm like a teacher, I know.
Yes.
Yeah, calling out or calling students. Si Ma'am Janet probably, Ma'am Janet, as I said, belongs to an organization, a
Mm,
formidable organization. It's called PACE in the country, among other organizations she belongs to. So she's a wealth of experience, and I think
mm.
injecting her insights in this will probably help spur the conversations. Prof. Janet, do you want to be on board in this discussion? I know you have something to share, a lot of those you want to share for our
Oh,
international audiences.
she said, sorry, I have no video and mic.
Ah,
So,
okay. Sorry to put you on the spot, but really, yeah, we're actually learning from each other. My company, a media company, and all these organizations that we come in contact with, in most all occasions. Yeah.
okay, if there's no questions, maybe let's take a picture before we end the webinar. Everyone, can you please turn on your camera so we can take a picture with everybody?
Thank you, VRITIMES, and thank you, guys.
Okay, let's take a picture. One, two, three. One more time. Thank you so much, Mr. Ariel, for
Yay!
being the host for today. I
Thank
want to say
you.
thank you for everybody that has come
Thank
for
you. See you
today.
next
So
time on
see you
another
next
topic,
time.
probably with a panel. I like it with a panel with some other, panelists,
Mhm.
reactors. Yeah, it's a good treatment also for a webinar.
Please,
Yeah.
everybody, to fill in the attendance form
Yes.
to get your certificate. And
Yeah.
thank you, everyone, for coming.
Thank
Let's end
you.
the webinar now. Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone. Thanks for your
Thank you, everyone.
times.
Thank you.
Stay safe. Get that hydrated all the time.